Title: Beauty and the Beast. A tale of true love and kindness. Once upon a time, in a faraway kingdom, there lived a wealthy merchant who had 3 daughters. The 2 eldest were proud, selfish, and thought only of luxury and jewels, but the youngest, named Belle, was kind, humble, and beautiful not just in appearance but also in heart. She loved reading books and helping others. Because of her gentle and loving nature, everyone called her Beauty. One day, misfortune struck the merchant's family. His ships, carrying goods and treasures, were lost in a terrible storm at sea. Within a few days, the family went from riches to poverty. The merchant and his daughters were forced to leave their grand house in the city and move to a small cottage in the countryside. The 2 elder sisters complained bitterly about their new life and refused to help with household work. But Beauty accepted their fate with patience. She cooked, cleaned, sewed, and cared for her father without complaint. Though life was hard, she found joy in simple things like singing, reading, and talking to birds. After many months, the merchant received news that one of his lost ships had been found. Filled with hope, he decided to travel to the city to see if he could recover his fortune. Before leaving, he asked his daughters what gifts they wanted him to bring back. The elder sisters demanded fine dresses and jewels. But Beauty only smiled and said, "Father, please bring me a single rose, for none grow in our garden." The merchant blessed her and left. When he reached the city, he discovered that his recovered ship had been robbed, leaving him with nothing. Saddened and tired, he began his journey home through a dark forest. As night fell, a violent snowstorm began. Lost and freezing, he saw a light shining through the trees. Following it, he came upon a magnificent castle. The gates were open, and though no one appeared, he entered. Inside, a warm fire burned in the hall, and a table was set with delicious food. The merchant called out, "Is anyone here?" But there was no answer. Hungry and exhausted, he sat down, ate the meal, and rested for the night. The next morning, as he prepared to leave, he passed through the castle's gardens and saw beautiful roses blooming despite the winter frost. Remembering Beauty's wish, he plucked one. At that very moment, a terrible roar echoed through the garden. From the shadows emerged a horrifying creature, half man, half beast, with glowing eyes and sharp fangs. "How dare you steal my roses?" thundered the beast. "I gave you food and shelter, and you repay me with theft?" The merchant trembled with fear. "Forgive me, my lord," he pleaded. "I meant no harm. The rose is for my youngest daughter, who asked for nothing else." The beast's anger softened slightly. "I will spare your life," he said coldly, "but on one condition. You must send your daughter who wanted this rose to live here in your place. If she refuses, you must return yourself and die here." The merchant agreed with a heavy heart and was allowed to leave. When he reached home, his daughters rushed to greet him. The elder sisters were delighted to see the fine dresses he had not brought, and mocked him when he gave Beauty the rose. But when their father told them what had happened, they were silent with fear. Beauty saw her father's sorrow and said gently, "Dear father, do not worry. You did nothing wrong. If the beast will accept me, I will go to him. Perhaps he will not harm me." Despite her father's tears, Beauty prepared to leave. The next morning, she and her father rode through the forest to the castle. When they arrived, the beast appeared before them. His appearance was frightful, but he spoke softly to Beauty. "Do not be afraid, you are the master here. Your father may stay for one night, and then return home safely." That night, Beauty and her father dined in a grand hall. The beast sat silently beside them. Though his voice was deep and rough, his words were kind. The next morning, the merchant left, weeping, and Beauty remained in the castle. To her surprise, she was treated with the utmost kindness. Invisible servants waited on her, and she had every comfort she could wish for. Every evening, the beast would join her for dinner, speaking gently and asking her questions. After several days, the beast asked, "Beauty, do you think me very ugly?" She hesitated but answered truthfully, "Yes, but you are very kind, and that matters more." the Beast smiled sadly. "Will you marry me, Beauty?" She shook her head gently. "No, Beast, I do not love you. But I will always be your friend." The Beast sighed but did not grow angry. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months. Beauty grew fond of the Beast. Though he was hideous, his heart was gentle and pure. She began to feel comfortable in the castle, reading books, walking in the gardens, and talking to the Beast each evening. One day, she looked into a magic mirror the Beast had given her. To her horror, she saw her father lying ill and alone. Her heart filled with sadness. That night she begged the Beast, "Please let me go and see my father. I promise to return." The Beast hesitated, his eyes filled with pain. Finally he said, "Go, Beauty, but remember your promise. If you do not return within 7 days, I shall die of grief." Beauty kissed his paw and left the next morning. When she reached home, her father rejoiced to see her. Her sisters, however, were jealous. Seeing how rich and beautiful she looked, they plotted to keep her from returning. They wept and begged her to stay longer, pretending to love her dearly. Beauty's heart was kind, and she agreed to stay for 2 more days. But when the 7th night came, she had a terrible dream. She saw the Beast lying in the garden, dying. She woke in tears, realizing that she truly cared for him. Without another moment's delay, she ran to the castle. The gates opened as if by magic. She found the Beast in the garden, lying beside the rose bush, barely breathing. "Oh, Beast," she cried, "please don't die. I love you, I love you." As her tears fell on his face, a bright light surrounded him. Suddenly, the Beast's monstrous form began to change. Before her stood a handsome prince, gazing at her with gratitude and love. "Beauty," he said softly, "you broke the spell. A wicked enchantress turned me into a beast, until a maiden would love me despite my ugliness. Your love has set me free." Beauty's heart overflowed with joy. The invisible servants appeared, now turned back into people, cheering and celebrating. The castle shone brighter than ever before. Soon after, Beauty and the prince were married in a grand ceremony. Her father lived happily with them in the castle, and her sisters, realizing their mistakes, begged for forgiveness. Beauty forgave them and said, "True beauty lies not in the face, but in the heart that loves, forgives, and cares for others." And from that day forward, the prince and Beauty ruled their kingdom with kindness and wisdom, proving that love, not appearance, is what makes a person truly beautiful. Moral: real beauty comes from goodness, kindness, and love, not from outward appearance.